Hello, my name is Haley Harold. I'm an education and outreach specialist at the Metropolitan Organization to Counter Sexual Assault, and I recently did a workshop looking at media, sex, and violence and how we can analyze sexualized and violent media with the groups that we work with, whether it's teens or adults, and I wanted to share this information. So I'm just going to really go quickly through what we talked about and what we worked on in the workshop that I presented, and maybe you'll find some of this information helpful. So at Moxa, we have education advocacy. We have a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week crisis line, and we have therapy services. Moxa is located in Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, so at Moxa, we talk to young people of all ages. We talk to professionals, community groups, church groups, and we focus on a number of topics, everything from healthy relationships and boundaries to consent, sexual assault, and being a good bystander. Here's how I use media in the classroom. I'll give you an example of a time where I really thought that taking a look at media and using it to talk about dating violence was helpful. So I was working with a group of 7th grade boys, and they were missing their PE time. I know that they weren't really excited about our session or what we were talking about. So I just very, very briefly went over the cycle of abuse with them, and then we watched this video. And with the 7th graders, we hadn't talked about consent or sexual assault, so at some point in the video, I needed to stop it because they didn't have the proper context to really understand what was happening next. So when I stopped it, they were like, "No, don't stop it," and they wrote down the URL, and they, were really engaged and really wanted to continue watching it. And then the discussion that followed was really great. They were able to identify abuse that they saw in the video and determine whether this couple was in fact in the cycle of abuse. So we took, a session that they weren't really looking forward to, and I think if you ask them afterwards, they would say that they enjoyed it and they really had a good time and learned a lot. Here's what we know about youth and media. 1 in 4 have a tablet computer. 3 of 4 use the internet on a cell phone or tablet. I think that's important because it means that media and technology is mobile for a lot of youth. So we're not sitting at the family computer in the living room on the internet. It's on our phone, it's on our tablet, and we're moving around the house. And we, have a level of privacy maybe that we can or cannot handle. So 9 in 10 access a computer at home, 78% have cell phones and smartphones, and 50% of those are smartphones, and 1 in 4 are cell mostly users. Again, we're using the internet in a very mobile way. When I talk about media, I'm talking about all of these different things, but what I use most in the classroom are music, movies, music videos as well, TV shows, commercials, YouTube videos. Here's what we know about teens and media. The average teen views or consumes 7 hours and 38 minutes of various media each day. If you look down here in the corner, the total is actually 10 hours and 45 minutes, but we know that they're doing a lot of multitasking, so they may be playing a video game while they're listening to music, or they may be browsing the internet while they're listening to music or watching a movie. So some of this is overlap. I don't know that a whole lot of this would be surprising. This study was from 2010, so 4 years ago, so I'd be really interested to see if and how these numbers have changed. If social media is more popular, which I think is combined in this computer use up here, if that number goes up, I'd be interested to know. So here's how I see young people using the internet. So they go to their Tumblr or they go to their Twitter. It's their hub for news and information, whether it's, what's going on with their favorite celebrity in the world, with their friends. So they go there, they see something that interests them, and then they go to YouTube, they watch the trailer, they watch this video clip that their friend had shared on Twitter or Tumblr. And this is really how they're consuming media, and they're using this media and this technology to understand the world. Okay, so we're going to look at ways that violence in the media affects youth, sex in the media, how that affects youth, and then we're going to see if maybe violence and sex in the media has an effect. Okay, so this was a longitudinal study of children ages 6 to 10, and then again in their 20s. They were interviewed and surveyed, and the researchers found a link between viewing violent TV shows and later aggression. And the really interesting part to me is they found that this was true regardless of gender, family type, those initial aggression levels, intellectual capacity, social status. The aggression showed in their parents and their parents' style of parenting. Okay, so now we know that violence has an effect on youth, violence in the media. So does sex in the media have an effect? So what was found that exposure to sex on TV was related to adolescents having sex, that there was a likelihood of early initiation to sex and progression to other sexual activities. Important note, they found that African American youth who watched more depictions of sexual risks, so we can think of those as dramas where we see the consequences of that sexual activity, or maybe even shows like 16 and Pregnant or Teen Mom, where we see the consequences that made at least African American teens, it made them less likely to initiate intercourse. Really, really interesting part of this study was that they found that comedies were more positively associated with teens having sex. And the way that they explained this was that when teens see a comedy like Two and a Half Men or maybe The Big Bang Theory, and they see really sexualized content or sexual jokes or maybe even sexual harassment, they're able to gloss over the reality of it because they're laughing, they see it as humor. It's not something that's real or serious, it's a joke. So they internalize those messages without thinking about the reality of the situation and later consequences. So again, dramas were negatively associated with teens having sex because they see those consequences, and cartoons and reality programs, there was no association. Okay, so we know that violence in the media leads to aggression, fear, and desensitization to that violence in youth. We know that sex in the media leads to increased sexual behavior. We don't really know how violent and sexualized media affects youth. Research really hasn't been done in this area, but we do know there was a study just put out a couple months ago, and it looked at girls ages 3 to 17 who had experienced sexual assault, and one of the more striking outcomes of that was that they found that the girls normalized the sexual violence. So they thought that what had happened to them was normal male behavior, that the men couldn't help it, and I think that this speaks to the sexualized violence that we see in the media and how it is affecting at least young women who experience that violence. Okay, here's why I use the media. Gets their attention, they identify with it, the topic instantly becomes relevant, especially if it's a TV show they have used or really like. And then the added bonus is that now we're analyzing the media and thinking about it critically. So in the past I have tried, showing video clips or having young people bring in their favorite media, and then we go through those questions like, who does this hurt, who does this help, who's the target audience? And I've seen some pushback from that. They feel like that we're attacking their favorite things, their favorite shows. So when we talk about media in the context of gender stereotypes, so hey, let's see what kind of gender stereotypes we see in this show, and then we add in those questions about, well, who is this targeting, and what does it say about relationships? Is it harmful? Is it helpful? We're building those skills around gender stereotypes and recognizing them, but we're also analyzing the media. Okay, so here is how you can get videos in the classroom. I made a playlist on YouTube that covers topics of gender stereotypes, healthy and unhealthy relationships, sexual harassment, consent, sexual assault, and dating violence. So you can check out my playlist on YouTube, or you can make your own. So you ask students what they watch or listen to, or you can go to the Center for Parent and Youth Understanding. They have a great top 10 list. You go to YouTube and you can either sign in using an existing Google account or you can create your own account. Put in the media that you're looking for. So Big Bang Theory is really popular, and then you're going to want to filter by short 4-minute clips. It'll give you less content to sift through, and it will also bring up the video clips that are going to keep young people's attention. In my experience, anything longer than 3 minutes, they start to get antsy. So I've made a video on my YouTube playlist where you can see me do this in real time. I just screen captured what I was doing. So if this isn't making sense or you want to see it, you can go to my YouTube page, SV Clips for the Classroom, and you can find that video. Okay, so then once you find your video you want to use, you just click Add To, and then if you have an existing playlist you want to add it to, you can go ahead and click that. Another box will pop up. You can add notes, so middle school only, this is best for high schoolers, whatever's going to help you out. Or you can enter a new playlist. So if I didn't have any playlists, I'd click Add To, then I'd go down here to the bottom and enter my playlist. Then you just go back to your YouTube page and you'll see all your playlists right on the left-hand side. Here's some good resources that I have used in the past. So Center for Parent and Youth Understanding, Common Sense Media, National Association for Media Literacy Education, Center for Media Literacy. They have an awesome Media Lit toolkit over here. Alright, so in the workshop that I put on or facilitated, we worked through some of these video clips so that we could really see what this would feel like in the classroom and maybe anticipate some of the challenges in facilitating a conversation like this. So we talked about the model that we use here at Moxa. We give information. So if it's a group that we know, they're missing PE and they're in 7th grade and we're talking about, violence that's often perpetrated by men, and we have a class of all boys, the amount of information we give may be really limited. But if we have a group that's prepared to talk about this and really interested, then the amount of information we give maybe quite a bit, and we may even throw in activities that we're going to do or other ways to generate conversation, and then we show a video and we talk about it. So we're practicing those skills. We're looking for violence or abuse. We're looking for the cycle of abuse, and then we're also talking about who made this media, why did they make it, who's the target, is it harmful or helpful. So this is just a quick example of some of the information, very, very limited information I would give about gender stereotypes. We watch the video, and here's our discussion question. So I'll just kind of cycle through these slides pretty quickly. You can always pause the video and write this stuff down. Alright, so those are some of the topics that we discussed, and those are also the topics that I've made playlists for. Tips for navigating tough conversations. So if you get a question that you're not really sure where they're going, you think they might be trying to be silly or funny, my favorite thing to say in that case is, why do you say or think that, or can you explain that for us? And I found that if you ask them to elaborate on their question, if they're trying to be, funny girl or guy in the classroom, then they don't have much to say after you ask that. But if it's a serious question, then they can tell you why they're asking it, and it can help you understand how you should answer it. So if it's a question, if it's a comment that is kind of in the other direction, so if we're talking about sexual assault and it's a comment like, well, most women lie about sexual assault anyways, then I open it up to the classroom. What does everyone else think about this? Do you agree with this comment? Do you disagree? 2 reasons I do this. One, most of the time, I would say 100% of the time, in my experience at least, we have a lot of people who don't agree with that statement and want the opportunity to voice their opinion. Also, it allows for peer-to-peer learning. So if they hear it from another person their age in their class, someone they respect, It's going to go a lot further than if they hear it from the preachy presenter. And if all else fails, I just say let's go back and look at what we talked about. Other activities you can do, you can send like a discussion type handout home as homework and have them view their favorite show or watch 30 minutes of TV and think through those questions. Or you could have them watch the clips that you're planning on using in the classroom outside of the classroom, so then when they come to the classroom they've already thought through what they think about this clip and those discussion questions. You could do like a count the gender stereotypes activity and 30 minutes of TV. The flipped classroom model is we're going to do the classroom work, typical classroom work outside of the classroom, the instruction, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the homework in class. So you could send videos home for them to watch, and then you can have that full class time for the discussion. You could also ask youth or whoever you're working with, adults as well, to bring in a commercial or song that hits one of these areas, and then generate discussion that way. If you're in the Kansas City area, Moxa is a resource for you. Here's some of the topics that we talk about with youth. We also do professional education, community groups, church groups, all sorts of community and youth education. And here's my contact info. And here are my citations for the research. Thank you.